My name is Claudia Mareis. I'm one of the co-directors of the cluster Matters of Activity, and this is also the space today where we meet. It's an interdisciplinary laboratory where around 150 researchers from all kinds of disciplines, from the humanities, from the natural sciences, material sciences, medicine, but then also from design and architecture work together on the basics for a new culture of the material. And I'm also a professor at Humboldt University, and my specialty is design and the history of knowledge. What we try to establish here is a kind of an atelier or a studio zone where most of our design and architectural researchers, like the doctoral students, but also the postdocs, are working and have the opportunity to really have this kind of like hands-on practice where they also create different kind of prototypes, make like material samples, have their visualizations and their mood boards. So it's really a kind of a design studio-like atmosphere or design research studio atmosphere. And basically I have quite an atypical background, so being trained as a graphic designer and having worked in industry for quite a while, I went into academia because I was so interested in the epistemology of making and in the epistemologies of design. And since I didn't found at the time at the university what I was interested in, I started myself to contribute to the field of design research and started to dive into not just design history, but also design methodology and also the topic of design as epistemic culture. In my career, I did not have many role models. So there was not such thing as design theory or design research at university. So I really had to create my own field of research. There were just a lot of like male professors and researchers that I did not take as role model for me because it was also quite a hostile environment. So I was always aware of this kind of gender perspective, and in a lot of ways this also motivated my thinking about my career. Why are we using the term design more and more in realms that are not originally or traditionally connected to design? So why do we use the design term when we talk about the Anthropocenic crisis, so this kind of by design and not by disaster? So why do we really link this idea of change and transformation so much to design? So this is something I'm researching a lot. And I'm very much intrigued by this idea of design being a third culture of knowledge that is not just standing next to the natural science and the humanities, but that really has its own body of practical knowledge, of projective knowledge, of making, and that is both important for pushing the design disciplines forward, but also for integrating different disciplines to work together and to research together. So this idea that design is not something that is very limited to the design profession, I find that really inspiring, but it's also challenging, you know, because then we have this kind of like double discussions. On the one hand, there is this field called design and architecture where we have specific institutions, pedagogies, role models, a specific canon of books, literature, or also buildings and so on. And on the other hand, there is this broad understanding of design where design can become everything from making a table until governing the planet. So, and this is what I'm interested in. So how is this related? I think it's important to understand knowledge as something that is in the material and that is within the practice. And then it's not so far away. You know, the disciplines come much closer when we look at the practices, how they differ, but maybe also how we can find synthesis and links between them. What I try to foster as a person leading this cluster is a kind of a committed atmosphere to collaboration. And I think this is really important for interdisciplinary research, that we create an atmosphere that is not competitive, although it should be challenging, so we should really push ourselves to really develop the best things. And I would wish that really people would trust more into the knowledge of design practitioners and architectural practitioners, and how this is also very much needed in order to understand material culture differently.